Okay, we're back. This is meditation part 2. This is the third installment. I have a new platform. I left Anchor alone. Hopefully this one will take us to the promised land. I got my fingers crossed. Okay. Now we left off with what meditation does in the brain. We went through a lot of things. I don't know if the podcast got convoluted, if everybody got everything I was trying to say. Probably not. So maybe I'll have to do them all over again. But anyway, this one is what meditation does on the level of the brain waves, the conscious and unconscious aspect of meditation. There are different brain waves associated with different states of consciousness, or rather unconsciousness. Okay, we'll go through those. And then we'll get into the spooky ghost realm. I just call it that because that's, the paranormal realm, where things start getting real strange while you're sitting completely still. Because, in meditation, you get to a certain frequency and it feels like you're in a rocket ship, but you're actually sitting complacent, completely still. That's a very trippy thing about meditation, but it's not the most trippy thing. The most trippy thing is when you get into a certain brain state or brain wave, i.e. frequency, and then all types of crazy things start happening. And, I always say crazy, but if this is the essence of our being, then it really isn't crazy. It's just covered in layers. Okay. So when you wake up in the morning, everyone's in a certain brain wave called the beta brain wave. Okay. This is the brain wave that's at 38, or should I say 12 to 38 hertz. That's how they measure the frequency. Okay, now as the brain waves get deeper, the frequency gets slower, respectively. Okay, so this one, beta, is the waking consciousness. So everyday activity, normal activity, you go to the stove, you turn it on, you put your food in, you watch it, you go back to get something to drink. Normal activity, waking consciousness, nothing drastic, nothing too emotional per se. So this is the basic brain wave of everybody walking around respectively. That's not doing nothing too intense. Okay. It has a high frequency and a low amplitude if you're into physics. All right. It's the beta wave, the waking consciousness, probably the most normal brain wave of the day when you're doing normal activities. Okay. Now, next, the alpha brainwave is the next wave, lower in frequency. So this brain wave is from 8 to 12 hertz, or they use HZ to shorten the word hertz. Okay, and this is more of a calm wave or a calm state. You may be taking a walk in the park, where you're relaxed, you're with nature, the brain wave slows down a little bit. All right. Because now you kind of engaged in something. Maybe you can even call it mindfulness, not deep meditation, but mindfulness. You may just be daydreaming a little bit, kind of relaxed, just chilling maybe. And now you're in the alpha brainwave. Okay. And the alpha does have other things associated with it, but it's not the juicy stuff that we want to get into. All right. The juicy stuff is coming, the next 2 waves coming. Okay. Theta. The theta wave is between 3 and 8 hertz Okay. This brainwave is associated with light sleep, REM sleep, rapid eye movement, the state where you can recall your dreams. I had a vivid dream yesterday, and I remembered pretty much the whole thing. And then I decoded it for myself, which was, it's a good feeling to decode your dreams because they really are strange, but they're just a Rubik's Cube mix up of what you're thinking and your waking state, reality or some desire. Okay. So I did decode my own dream. And what I did decode was the spiritual mirror between being on a spiritual path and being on another path, like let's say the third dimensional path where you're just obsessed with material things and money. And I decoded that portion of it. I don't know who it applies to. It might apply to one of my friends or something like that. Maybe it applies a little bit to me, but I did decode it after reviewing it several times in my mind. And that's a good feeling because, again, these dreams are kind of coded. But anyway, the theta. All right. Theta waves are associated with paranormal activity. Okay, so now you drop to a very low frequency. Maybe like where the unconscious mind starts to reveal itself. The true nature of the unconscious mind starts to reveal itself. Okay. And theta waves are going to be associated with meditation, psychedelics, shrooms, marijuana, things of that nature. Okay. Paranormal activity is experienced when you're at the theta wave state. Now, what are we saying? Paranormal activity. I can give a clear example for myself. I mean, I've had some really deep meditations, and I did use a enhancer per se, just marijuana, but a psychedelic. That's the word I'm looking for. Now, some people who meditate can't get to these states and these brain waves because it's maybe difficult. They can't remove the consciousness enough to get there. They may be floating around in the beta alpha realms, if you want to say that, or the beta alpha frequencies more so, right? They're not adept yet at going deeper into meditation to get to the theta, and then the next wave is the delta. So the theta and the delta waves are where these paranormal things, paranormal occurrences are happening. Okay. So you can't do it with regular meditation. Just on a sober note, you may need a psychedelic. I'm not advising you to do that because I can't make that decision. Okay. If you've never used marijuana, then I'm definitely not telling you to go out and do that. However, a path is a path. You go on your path and you find out what is the end product of your decision. So I've used it. I've meditated. I've hit some ridiculous unconscious realms where paranormal activity has happened. Let's go through one of them. So I'm meditating. Yes, I use the psychedelic THC. Okay. I'm really deep. Okay. Now, when you get that deep, you lose pretty much all your consciousness. Now it's like the wave. Okay. So let's just say the theta wave. We're still in the theta. Is responsible for picking up awareness now. Your eyes are not taking in any input anymore. if you're meditating with your eyes closed. It's debatable to do it with open and closed. I close my eyes. The eyes have long ceased to be picking up any input from the outside world. Okay? This is going to be primarily the pineal gland now receiving whatever it receives from wherever it receives it from. Okay, now it's not an external eye. We know that. It's an internal eye, but it is responsible for transdimensional occurrences, paranormal activity. So now it's the third eye using its rods and cones to pull from another dimension, unconscious realms. Okay, so you're in another dimension because the brain is responsible for everything. The rest is a shell, right? Once you, on that level, the brain, because the theta wave is going to go into another dimension, right? It's out of the physical realm. You can't see it, obviously, but it leaves the physical realm. So now you're interacting in a different space and time. It's not the physical world, even though your physical body is still sitting, meditating. Okay, it's hard to grasp if you haven't experienced it. But this is what I'm trying to say. Once you get to that level of unconscious mind and to that brain wave of theta, 8 to 3 hertz, that wave is picking up stuff from another dimension, another plane of reality, more so, right? Okay, so I'm meditating. Nothing fancy, no full lotus, just in a good position, straight back, head aligned, okay, stretched out, whatever I did prior. I had the psychedelic. So with the psychedelic, it may be just easier to get to this brain wave, to this frequency, because of what the psychedelic does. Okay, it's easier. And it's not saying that you can't get to it without it, but it's just easier. It was easier for me. So I'm deep. Okay, I'm really deep. At this point, you know, there's a real change in your reality. It's awareness now. It's kind of like you're just stuck. But this stuck is kind of different than the traditional definition of stuck. Like, you're not experiencing the world the same way. Something else of a higher level is bringing in the awareness at a different unconscious state or in a different realm. And, you know, in these realms, there are different beings in these realms. And once you get into this theta, you know, you may interact with a being. A being may contact you. So I'm there. I have to be in a theta delta. Okay, we won't get into this gamma. And, you know, I hear a high sound, or what I perceive to be a high pitched sound. So you're going to say, well, how do you hear? Your ears shouldn't work. It's probably being perceived through the pineal gland. You know, it may not be the eardrum taking this frequency in. So it's commonly known, and when you hear a high pitched sound, that is a ghost realm. It's a ghost realm. When you hear a certain sound of a high pitch, you know, and then you'll see it in the movies and you'll hear it in the movies. And it's kind of, you know, it can throw you off because of the high pitch of how high it is. It's like a sharp whistle, like a dog whistle. You know, now you're hearing things at a different frequency.